Welcome to WOW, the Woman of the Week podcast series. This episode was made possible by a generous sponsorship from Eligo Health Research. For more information, visit eligohealthresearch.com. In this episode, Taryn Grome, editor-in-chief of Pharma Voice magazine, meets with Helen Lee, MD, President and CEO, Samyang Pharmaceuticals USA.
Helen, welcome to the WOW podcast program, and congratulations on being named to the Pharma Voice 100 this year.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for having me and giving me this great opportunity to talk to you on Happy Friday.
On a happy Friday, yes, happy Friday to you. Helen, you were named President and CEO of the U.S.-based arm of Samyang Pharmaceuticals in 2018 after bringing your expansion plan to the board. This was a pretty bold move. I was really impressed when I read this. How did you convince them to open the U.S. subsidiary in Cambridge?
Well, it was not easy, of course, as you can imagine. It's very difficult to develop new drugs in Korea and market them in the US later. So I thought if Samyang was serious about developing new biologics, we need to come to the US where the resources existed with people with comprehensive R&D experience. And I was interested in having Samyang consider change in the drug development process, as historically it existed within the company, and also what improvements to make in the future, particularly as the company was considering to open the US subsidiary. Before I joined Samyang, I worked at Exalta, Leicestershire, which was headquartered in Cambridge. So through my own experience of working in Cambridge, I knew Cambridge was the best place for the biotech companies pursuing innovation. I was able to show them a long list of why Cambridge, therefore. Samyang's drug development strategy was to in-license early-stage compounds. Partnering was more readily available in the Cambridge biosector, where hundreds of potential partners were headquartered. So our new Cambridge location allowed us easy access to numerous small biotechs in Cambridge. Plus, our Cambridge location also offers proximal access to Boston area research institutes and hospitals that could be sites for the additional R&D programs as well as clinical trials.
So you really are in the hotbed there where everything is poppin' biotech. So it's got to be exciting times.
Yeah, we are very excited. And we made quite a progress since we opened our office.
Well, congratulations to you. You made another bold move, leaving the practice of medicine as an OBGYN to become a biopharmaceutical scientist. What led you to make this leap? Not many women have the guts to do that.
Yeah, it was not certainly an easy decision. I love the medicine, but I recognized early on in my career that I had a heart for research because the research team environment provided me with an opportunity to learn something new on my own as well as from other scientists, which was very exciting. So when the opportunity of working at Pfizer came to me, before I made a decision, I talked to my best friend since childhood. Surprisingly, she said, "Wow, this is exactly what you wrote in your essay at high school. You wanted to be a physician working at a pharmaceutical company for new drug development because then you can treat the millions of patients if you develop a new drug, whereas you can treat only a limited number of patients at hospitals." So this conversation truly helped me transition from practice medicine to areas closer to the development of new medicine. As president and CEO of Samyang Pharmaceuticals USA, I'm also in the position to lead a business and R&D team that can make life-altering medicines available to tens or hundreds of thousands of patients globally, which is a far cry from the thousands of patients I may have treated as physician.
I think it's so amazing that how prophetic that was, right? That you knew what you wanted to do before you knew what you wanted to do.
Yeah, right.
Um, so do me a favor and lead me through some of your career milestones that eventually led you to
Mhm.
the C-suite.
Yes. In Eli Lilly, I worked as a medical lead for head and neck cancer indication for Erbitux, leading the development of registration strategy and clinical trials. So we successfully received approval from the FDA in 2011. After leaving Eli Lilly, I joined Baxter as one of the initial members of Baxter Oncology and played an important role in developing strategies for oncology therapeutic area, working with the amazing cross-functional teams and presenting the strategy to the CEO. It was a really exciting opportunity for me. After setting up the strategy, I led its execution through evaluating external licensing opportunities while ensuring efficient advancement of clinical programs from the registration process to successful commercialization. After that, at Shire, as a clinical head of a solid tumor franchise, I successfully led the Onivyde program to receiving approval in pancreatic cancer from EMA in 2016. When Samyang approached me, they were looking for someone who was a scientist with business development experience and potential in addition to R&D experience. So my experience in drug development and approval, setting up oncology therapeutic strategy, and executing it through licensing activities well fit their profile.
That's awesome. So you really do combine the heart and the mind of an entrepreneur and an innovator. Through all those roles, you've really increased like your responsibility, but also pushed the science forward. So, when you are looking for assets to develop or acquire at Samyang, what are those? What are those compounds? What do those assets look like for you? What excites you about the
So
science?
yeah, this really, is related to why I left the hospital and joined the industry, pharmaceutical industry. So I look for a company and scientific team that incorporates innovation to meet unmet medical needs and help patients.
Excellent. And one of the recent collaborations you entered into was with CanCure LLC. Tell me about this partnership and what that's going to do for Samyang.
Oh, this is my best story. So in 2018, I attended an IO summit in Cambridge and listened to a presentation from the CEO of CanCure, Dr. Jennifer Wu. It provided me the opportunity to learn and understand the science behind the compound on which she was presenting. I was impressed with not only the innovative science of the compound and her scientific knowledge, but also her passion that drove her to make a difference in patient lives. Her company was close to my office in the Chicago area at the time, just 10 minutes walking distance. So I walked to her office and met with her on subsequent occasions where we talked in depth about the drug and the science behind it. During those meetings, I discovered first, she was a working mom like me, and what a great scientist she was. And we built trust, I think. It allowed me to convince her to wait until I created a larger R&D team at Samyang USA because I was the only employee at the time and get ready to conduct the due diligence of the compound. She was looking for a small biotech company to partner with rather than a giant global company. And Samyang's non-VC profile with stable finance backed up by parent company was very attractive to her.
That's fantastic. So when she was looking for a small biotech to partner up with, maybe not that small initially, right? There's two of you, two women of high power connecting. That doesn't often happen either. So to find another kindred spirit is really quite remarkable.
Yeah, I think so. So I think we had several things in common. As I said before, both of us were working mom and scientists, and she's also Asian and female. So this common things really gave us kind of a good bonding and, great opportunity to work together.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. So tell me how you would describe your leadership style. I would imagine that, in the work you have to do as the leader of this company, you have to work with a lot of VC companies, you have to work with your parent company. And as a woman, that's not always the easiest position to be in. Sometimes you're like probably the only woman in the room. So tell me about that piece of your world.
Yes, definitely. Many times I'm the only female, and also colored people, I must say. So having kind of a two minorities in a meeting room. But I think at the end of the day, that's not what's important. But I think my leadership style is really about people. So I dislike micromanagement and develop trust in colleagues. Once I trust people to do their job and do it well, I encourage an independent relationship where I am always available but do not have people under a microscope. I have a transparent and hands-on management style and believe in leading by doing. Especially in a small company like Samyang, I get to wear many different hats and experience all facets of the company, which allows me to understand different job functions, of course. And I try to get to know them as people and be like a friend rather than just be their boss.
Gotcha. Do you like having or being able to wear all those hats? Or
Could you say it again?
sure. Do you like wearing all those different hats? Do you like being involved in so many different areas of the company?
Well, I must say yes and no because uh, as
Fair
a
enough.
person who are as a person who are very curious, being involved in many different areas is certainly exciting and interesting. But because I know I'm not the expert in every area, and sometimes I have to, you know, do self-study a lot to understand what they're talking about. It gives me kind of challenges. So from that perspective, I must say yes and no.
I think that's fair enough. So, as you were coming up through big pharma and through your medical career, is there anything that you know now that you wish you had known then? If you could go back and tell something to your younger self, what would that be?
Yeah, you have to hire, people. And I have made many mistakes in hiring and not based those decisions on the right criteria. So it takes time to get right people in place, and you need the patience, especially when starting a company like a Samyang Pharm. Attracting and hiring the right people is the key. So my previous mistakes has helped me tremendously to hire more suitable people for Samyang USA. Now I have a great team here. I look for a fit both in experience and a personal ability to fit into a particular corporate culture.
Interesting. I asked that question to all the women who come on the program, and that's the first
Mm-hmm.
time somebody has said that they would go back and look at how they hire folks. So, what are those traits you look for in those people who you want to bring up through the ranks? Curiosity, I would imagine, is one thing.
Yes. So certainly, for each position, there's a list of profile, right? So, for example, if I hire head of clinical development, there's a certain criteria for that from the expertise and experience point of view. But also, it's important for them to have the fit to the culture of our company, especially our company is not big giant global pharma company, but rather a small biotech company. Also, our parent company is Korea. So the cultural differences in terms of big versus small and Korean and also America maybe can play important role in terms of working together with other colleagues and also working together with the parent company. So those aspects are also very important. And also I like people who have genuine passion for drug development.
Excellent. And you really do need to have a passion for drug development because it's hard and you really have to love
Exactly.
what you do, right?
Yeah, it takes a long time. It really requires patience.
Yes.
Yeah.
And fortitude and resilience. Helen, finally, tell me about an accomplishment or a wow moment that either shaped or transformed your career.
Yes, moving to the US and joining the global team at Eli Lilly was the moment which transformed my career. It provided me a totally different career path than I had been on as a medical director in Eli Lilly, Korea. In Korea affiliates, I was responsible for only executing parts of a corporate plan, and until joining global team, I had never been involved in such an endeavor. In global team, I was asked to develop a multi-layered plan that included drug development strategy, clinical trial protocol, and led all the clinically related regulatory discussions with the FDA. What a great opportunity to learn a host of new tasks, and it showed me the importance of doing my homework on each compound and how it fit into the overall drug strategy. So I had to work very hard and committed myself to learning as much as I could. I was usually the last one to leave the office after all the lights got turned off.
Well, you know what? All that homework and all that hard work paid off because look at where you are now. And you balance that because you also have children, right? So you said earlier that you're also a working mom.
Yes. Of course, working mom is one of the most difficult jobs in the world, I think. And but at the same time, having kids around me give me the motivation and encouragement and healing. So I have to say I'm so grateful for having children and have a career and enjoying both of them.
Well, kudos to you. And congratulations again on being named a Pharma Voice 100. And it was really lovely to spend some time with you, Helen. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of WOW, the Woman of the Week podcast. And thanks to Eligo Health Research for making this episode possible. For more information, visit eligohealthresearch.com. And don't forget to check out our other episodes of WOW at pharmavoice.com/wow. This 2020 program is copyrighted by PharmaLinks LLC.